today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to look at something from our personal collection, and the Beard's going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of a love affair with the pedal company lately. When we started the Tremolo series, we reached out to Walrus Audio, and I think that was the first time we reached out to Walrus.
I think that's right.
And so the first pedal we got in from Walrus was the Monument version 2. So we have that right here. You know the saying.
Yeah.
We have
trademark JH, I think. We have the box.
When I bought that, I had been eyeing up for a while the Kangaroo Fuzz. So the Monument and the Kangaroo came at the same time. Then we were lucky enough to have Colt join us on our 19 Conversation series. And after that series, he was kind enough to send us, because it was like a week before, maybe 2 weeks before the Aegis was released. So the third Walrus pedal we got in was the Aegis. Totally loved it. And so after like loving these 3 pedals, I went back and there was 2 more. There's more than 2 more.
More than 2 more.
There's 2 more that we... Anyway. And so ordered the Mako D1 series delay. And it's been a long day. So... Because there's so many tricks and it's beautiful. So we just opted tonight for a 3-minute intro to tell you what we're doing, even though, even though it's in the title, right? The Slö from Walrus Audio. So... typically, we would say this is... You said it's from our personal collection tonight.
Right.
They were bought for the show, but both of these have been on the end of my pedal board, using them every Sunday for the last 3 or so weeks. Since we got them in. Actually had to go up to the garage, because that's where I keep my pedal board for Sunday, in the garage, and rip this off the pedal board and bring it down. So the Slö from Walrus Audio, we'll put all these boxes nice and neatly lined up back there.
It's like a zoo back there with all the walrus.
So this is, well, what would you call this? A multifunctional, what do they call it? Multi Texture Reverb.
Oh, I like it.
And it's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's beautiful. It also must be romantic, because I think there's 2 people sitting on a crescent moon basking in the ambience.
Right. So, should we show that? Well, you can see it on the pedal.
Right there. Romeo and Juliet.
So the question is where to start.
Yes.
And we'll start with features. I don't know that we're going to do the knob turning. We're not going to do every algorithm and every knob.
Every sweep of every knob, right.
Try to give you a good idea what's happening here. It's incredible. I mean, just go buy it. And
thanks for joining us. Please subscribe.
Beard on behalf of PJ.
Yeah, that's right.
We're out of here. Let's talk about the knobs and stuff. So we have a decay knob, just the length of reverb decay. So you can go from like a tight short reverb to a very long reverb. You have a filter knob where they kind of break down how the filter works. But essentially, if you go to the left, it's going to get darker. If you go to it's going to get warmer.
Right.
Almost kind of like a tone knob.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
A mixed knob, turn it counterclockwise to increase the dry signal, clockwise for more wet reverb. You'll notice there is a little line about 2 o'clock on the pedal itself. That's the 50-50 point.
Yeah.
So they pushed the 50-50 point past 12 because they wanted to give you more options for dialing it in under 50-50. If that makes sense. Right. The X knob changes depending on what we're doing. So I'm going to jump around from their owner's manual a little bit. There is, if you look in the center, there's a toggle switch on the left side. It gives us rise.
It's dark, rise, and dream.
Thank you. I can't read anymore. Dark, rise, and dream. And so then this X knob is going to do different things depending on where that toggle is. So if it's in the dark mode, the X knob is going to bring in a low octave. It's a -1 octave. So all the way to the left, very little of that. All the way to right, a lot of -1 octave. In the rise, it is the amount of time it takes for, without looking at the manual, I'm just going to call it from us playing around with it, the bloom, maybe. So if you have it all the way to the left, the rise starts pretty much the second you play the chord. If you turn it to the right, the farther you go to the right, the longer that rise takes. So you can hit the chord, hear the chord without the reverb, the ambient,
right,
almost shimmer-esque,
esque,
and then it will rise in after that. So that's a really nice feature. And then when we get down to the depth, the dream. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Wow, sets the depth of the vibrato applied to the reverb decay.
So just for fun, they put a vibrato in there.
Right. Which now... Okay. Now we jump over to the depth knob. I'm going to read this one. Controls the amount of modulation applied to the reverb decay. Go from no modulation to nightmare, including pitch bending at high settings. Secondary function is the rate. So now I'm thinking we can have modulation on any of the settings. But on the dream setting, you get that vibrato added by the X knob. I'm not.
It might prove the theory.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's where we landed earlier. So
right,
we'll dive into that. On the other side of the switch, you have 3 modulation shapes: a sine, a warp, and a sync. Mm-hmm. Sine is pretty self-explanatory, just like you would have a sine wave on a tremolo pedal. Warp is an asymmetrical pitch up modulation. Think a warped record, they say. And then sync is an asymmetrical pitch down modulation, like a detune, like using a Bigsby.
Yes, I did hear that when we were...
Mm-hmm. Bypass switch, so you have on-off. And then you have a sustain switch. We'll talk more about what that does in the secondary functions of both of those here in a minute. So I thought maybe start on the dream, or did you want to start on the octave?
Oh, I'm okay with whatever, because I think you're going to do the octave, so...
Well, we can do that together, so... But is that all right to start there?
Sure, let's do it.
So we're starting in the dream. To switch... Now, we should have said this. I think you thought we were going to play, didn't you? That's cute.
No, we haven't got the reference tone yet, so we're not playing.
That's cute. It's a secondary function, so I believe we have to hold down one of the knobs to get to the other side. And so the mode switch secondary function is the wave shape selection. And we're going to have to pause here. All right, and then to get to that, you just, with the pedal on, you hold down the bypass switch, you switch the knob. The pedal will remember where the switch is for the algorithm you're on until you move it again.
Right, and you can adjust the depth while you're in there as well.
Right, and then if you hold down the bypass and change the depth knob, you're now changing speed. It's secondary function. So secondary functions, hold down the bypass knob. All right, so I think we have a plan. I don't know. We'll see. Might be different than what we said earlier. Do you want to reference them?
Yeah, so Revolta Mondata 8 through the Tyler Ampworks PT22. I think I have all the pickups on. One episode I'll finally stop saying I think. I think I have all of them on. Preview of the pedal.
Okay, so what we've talked about or figured out, we'll start with the decay. Turn that almost all the way down, take that almost all the way up. Go over to the mix. Remember at that line, so at 2 o'clock we're at 50-50, so we'll start with it 50-50. Take that down, take it up so you can hear it 100% wet. And then we'll stop and talk more. And maybe I'll do the filter knob real quick too, just so you can hear. So we're not going to do all these knobs on every algorithm.
Right.
Give you an idea on this algorithm. Right now we're on the Dream.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Pedal engage. Definitely noticeable. Obviously, the range.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Especially, I mean, the filter was real. Mm-hmm. The top end of the filter was really cut through a lot more than when you went.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a little harsh, and it wasn't at all.
So, another thing I think that would kind of run through all, because remember, the X knob is kind of linked to each one. So, we can show that as we go through each one. But the depth knob would kind of run through each one. Remember, the depth is the depth and the speed of the modulation. So right now, we have the modulation set, I believe, on the sine wave. And so if Pat plays a little bit, I'll kind of run that depth knob and then try and change... Well, we'll see if I can do it. Try and change the speed of it, too, while you're playing. So we'll see what happens. So it's probably hard to tell. So we started on the sine wave. When you see me touch it the first time, we were switching it down to the asymmetrical up, and then down one more time, asymmetrical down. So kind of the warped vinyl, sine warped vinyl, Bigsby. The depth, obviously, you get it way up there. It's,
right. This portion of the story brought to you by Dramamine.
Right. And then the speed on that too, when you can crank that up. So right there, if that was everything, I'd say pretty nice sounding, useful ambient reverb kind of pedal.
Right.
Not everything. So that was Dream. So I was switching that switch on the secondary function, so it still thinks it's in the lower position. So now if I move it to the middle, so it thought it was there. Now I can move it up to rise. And on this one, you might see me switch the other knobs just to get the sound maybe, but we're really going to look at the X knob. What the X knob does on this one is how long it takes for the rise to happen. Mm-hmm. And so on the last one, it was kind of it would affected the vibrato a little bit.
Right.
Which I don't think we really showed. Do we need to show that? Let's just go where we're at right now. Because it had a nice... yeah. Let's go where we have right now.
All right.
Do this once. As soon as it totally dies out. No, trails around. As soon as it totally dies out, play just like one chord and let it ring.
All right.
And so what you want to listen for, because we have this all the way up. Actually, let's not. Yeah, let's do that. What you want to listen for is you'll hear the chord, and then after the chord plays, you'll hear this like kind of a bloom of the upper octaves, maybe. As opposed to if we turn this all the way down and you do it.
Yeah, it was there right away.
Right. So it happens. Mm-hmm. It's subtle. I mean, but it's subtle. But I think what it does is it really lets the chord you're playing kind of shine through, even though you have, especially after you played a few chords, there's kind of this wash in the background. Mm-hmm. But when you crank that up and let it bloom, then I feel like it lets
there's more clarity of the chords. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. And so then we jump up to dark, and the X knob is going to add a lower octave. So as he plays, we'll hear that lower octave come in.
Yeah, it adds a lot of depth.
So what happened to your guitar?
I don't know. It got repoed. You missed a payment.
Revolta took it back.
They drove up from Nashville. There was a knock on the door. We had to pause the cameras.
Right. So we're still in this octave thing, believe it or not.
Right.
We are there. One of the things, I mean, when you think of this pedal, I think you're thinking ambient reverb.
Yep.
You know, if you want just a nice spring reverb or something like that, there's probably other offerings that would be better for that, and Walrus has some other reverb offerings that are really nice that we need to check out. But one thing that I found that I really like, that's just kind of crazy, if I switch over to this guitar, on the octave, and we have the octave all the way up, if we turn the decay down, it gets this like really nice. Sorry, let me grab my pick. I haven't played guitar in like. Maybe give it just a little bit more.
It's almost like someone humming or singing behind it.
Right. Exactly. That's what I feel like. You almost get like...
I feel like Keb Mo or somebody just walked in and they're like humming along to what you're playing. That's wild.
It is. And even like if you go... It just has like a really... I don't know. Something about
it's
that.
very unique, for sure.
Right. Because the octave isn't on the guitar, it's on the notes underneath. And you could pull that back a little bit. I mean, we have the octave all the way up. Mm-hmm. The mix is at like 50. You could pull the mix back a little bit, maybe. But why would you want to?
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's really unique.
Like, what happens if you just would pull the mix back to like 25%? and then turn up the decay a little bit to give it just a little bit.
Yeah, our singer comes back about 9 o'clock. 9 p.m. Come back for the second show. But yeah, it's really interesting.
I could do that. I mean, I could do that all night. So there was a clip when I first got that in, I think, of me playing a Strat with that on and maybe something else.
Was it the Mako? Oh, no. Was it what?
Maybe the Mako was on too. It was on Instagram. But anyway. All right, believe it or not, yeah, we're almost done. We need to be done. Looking at the time. And all of that, we haven't mentioned the fact that there's 2 foot switches on the pedal.
Right.
So if I flip this back down to, let's say, the Dream, give it some decay, get back to kind of like a normal place where we were. My favorite feature of all on this pedal, I think, is turning it off.
A surprise. Am I back? I don't know.
Yeah. Is leaving it off and then using it just when I want. So if you think about like a piano sustain pedal, if you're playing piano, you press the sustain pedal when you want to hold a chord. And then you let go of the sustain pedal when you don't. And so this actually kind of works in that way, that the bypass switch is a temporary switch if you just press and hold. So if I press and hold, so you don't have to turn it on and just leave it on and, you know, let it build up. You can kind of just step on it. So if you're doing, like, sometimes when we were playing this week, when it got soft and you were singing and it was, like, soft, I'd step on that and just grab a couple chords and let it sustain. But when it built back up, just take my foot off. Yeah. Instead of clicking on and clicking off. So I have it kind of on the edge of a pedal board where I could just kind of, boop, have it on for a while and take it off. In the Dream function, the other foot switch is latching. And so if I have it on, you play a big chord and I hit that. So it's latching, it will sit there forever. You can play over top of it. When you turn it off, it goes to like whatever you have your decay
set to, right.
And it will fade out.
Trail. Yeah. Yeah.
And it will trail off.
That's cool.
If you have it in one of the other ones, like say we had it in dark and you were playing. It takes your decay and pins it, I think. Does that make sense? So, I mean, basically it's the same kind of thing, but it's not latching. You hold your foot on it, it will last a really long time. Take your foot off. Yeah. I think what it does is actually just pins the decay, so the decay will last almost infinitely, but maybe not like the other one.
That makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took me a minute.
Incredible. I mean, really, really useful with those features. So the way the switches are set up, I think Walrus does a really good job, and I think from talking to Cole, if I remember correctly, they want features, but they want them to be real accessible and easy to use.
Right. And
even though you have to hold this down and turn that knob or something, it's still pretty easy to use once you get it. And I love this layout. that temporary hold on this is beautiful.
So. Yeah, I like it too. I've heard it from 20 feet away, between a drum kit between us, and now I'm hearing it. This is really nice.
Yeah. So I think with that, is that...
Yeah.
that should be it.
That's right.
But thanks to Walrus for helping us out and being so generous to us with some of the stuff that we've got and bought from them. And so with that said, we always like to take a moment just to thank everybody that's been subscribing, clicking the notification bell, clicking the like button, leaving comments. If you go out to Facebook or Instagram and leave comments there, any interactions you're doing with the show really help us out and help allow us to keep having fun.
All right.
And so we appreciate it, and we love when you join the conversation. And I think with that...
I'm PJ on behalf of The Beard, reminding you no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.
Oh yeah, the pedal has trails on it.
Yeah, that's right.
You can turn them on or off.
With a trail as big as a kite.